Hey everybody, this is Lee, and welcome to my YouTube playlist. This is a playlist channel that I put together for those of you who are interested in the ACDF surgery. On March 22nd, 2022, I had ACDF surgery, 4 levels with fusion. ACDF stands for anterior, which means the front of the neck. Cervical has anything to do with the spinal column. Um, um, Discectomy, or discectomy is how it's pronounced, has to do with taking care of any bad things that are going on with the discs within the vertebral body, I think is how they say it. Cleaning things out, widening it, and also placing plates and screws and things like that to make sure everything heals nicely. And then the F stands for fusion. Eventually, over time, based on what they do with the discectomy, they'll put a little bone graft in the discs, in between the discs there, and that bone graft will promote bone growth around the area that was part of the surgery. So you'll end up with a stronger neck structure, and that's the fusion part. All right, so I'm leaving a lot of stuff out. You can look at some of the other videos if you want to learn a little bit more specifically about the procedure. But anyway, I had progressive weakness on my left side, and this has been going on for a long time. I did some thinking about it, and I think I first noticed that I was having issues probably as early as 2008. And my doctor noticed that I was having some issues and said, hey, we should keep an eye on that. And 2015, we decided that I'm probably going to need to have something done medically. And so in 2016, I had a laminectomy on the back of my neck, and that didn't fix the issue, and that's a whole nother story. So here we are, 6 years later. I ended up having the anterior operation, which is the ACDF, 4 levels. So what I want to talk about in this particular video, this is 7 weeks post-op, as I mentioned, 7 weeks. I had my 6-week visit a week ago, and yeah, I don't have to wear the hard collar anymore. The doctor said everything looks good. Said the incision looks good. It looks like it's healed, and it's continuing to heal. And as you look at it, you can see that it's still dark from the bruising. You know, I mean, that was some major stuff that they had to do there. So it's still dark, as you can see, and right down here, it's a little puffy still. And the lighting from the room actually makes it look a lot more pronounced than it actually is. And I've noticed that when I do other videos. When you look at it and you see it in person, it doesn't look as pronounced as it is here. So I'm not worried about it. You know, vanity has its place in life, but listen, people look at me because I have a bald head. They look at me because they like my glasses. They look at me because I wear my goatee. Now they have another reason to look at me. So if they want to have a conversation about it, I've got lots to tell them. So the scar itself, I'm treating it every day with this medication, not medication, but it's an over-the-counter thing called Kilocoat. There are other medications out there and creams that you can use, but the Kilocoat, someone recommended it. It does have a silicone base in it, which they say is really good, because one of the things you want to do is you want to keep that scar nice and moisturized. And so anything you can do to stop it from drying out, you want to do that. Today I haven't put any on yet because I wanted to see what it looks like when it doesn't have anything on it. And I also use the Mederma SPF 30 because it's very sunny where I am. So when I go outside, I usually treat it in the morning before I go out with the Kilocoat, and then I'll put the Mederma on it, which gives me a little bit more protection from the sun. As far as swallowing is concerned, you know, I haven't been having major issues with swallowing, but here I am at 7 weeks out, and still every once in a while I have to be a little bit careful. My voice still gets strained a little bit, like you can hear it right now. It's a little bit on the strained side because I'm talking loud. I want to make sure that things pick up. But only if I'm eating something dry, like if I'm eating some cornbread or biscuits or chicken that is a little bit on the dry side. I got to make sure I chew it well. So I always keep sips of water nearby. So that's the magic juice right there. A little sip of water, or just eating something else along with the dry stuff that has a little moisture in it. And also chewing your food well and eating smaller bites. You know the drill if you've gotten this far in any of the videos. As far as the hard collar, man, oh man, oh man, I just couldn't wait to get that thing off. The first couple of weeks it was like, okay, this is what I have to do, and I'm gonna do it. But it gets tiring after a while. So for those of you who are still wearing your hard collar, it will get better, and you will eventually no longer need it. I would say that, now that I don't have the hard collar on, the things that I do notice is that my neck muscles did not atrophy. So I know that was a big concern that people have about wearing a collar, and why a lot of professionals probably suggest that you shouldn't wear it. But me particularly, specifically, my neck did not atrophy. I didn't notice any differences from before the surgery to after the surgery in terms of my general neck structure. My neck muscles are very angry at me and the doc from all that happened in there, of course. So part of the reason for wearing the collar, as I understand it, is just to give those neck muscles some relief from all that just happened. Now, I had 4 levels, so wearing a collar for me was a good call. If you only had 1 level and you've got a little incision down below, maybe you don't even need a collar, or maybe a soft collar will work for you. So everybody's going to be a little bit different. But now that I have the collar off, I do notice that when I'm in the car and I'm driving, when I accelerate, if I accelerate too quickly, my neck muscles can kind of feel, because the head is very heavy. What is it, like 30 pounds plus, depending on how big your head is? Anyway. So yeah, when I'm accelerating, I definitely feel it in the neck muscles, and that's actually good. I mean, the neck muscles are getting a workout. Boy, are they getting a workout with this head. But yeah, so that's one thing. The other thing, and I'll talk a little bit about range of motion. So the doctor he lifted the restriction of the 10 pounds. Don't lift anything more than a jug of milk. So now I'm up to 30 pounds, so I can lift a 30-pound jug of milk. So, but I questioned him. I said, okay, could you tell me a little bit about this BLT thing that we hear about? I realized that it's just an industry standard. I said, but when we go watch these videos, they throw around, hey, don't do any BLTs, no bending, lifting, or twisting, and then they don't really get into it all that much. The only thing that has any specificity around the BLTs is around the lifting, right? You get don't do anything more than 10 pounds, or, the first week, don't do any more than 3 pounds or 5 pounds or whatever it is. That's very specific. But what about the bending? What about the lifting? Well, the bending and lifting is really, again, about these neck muscles. It's not so much, it is to a degree about the fusion that's taking place, but the hardware in your neck is doing its job as far as the fusion. That's acting as kind of like an internal cast for the cage and all that other stuff. But these muscles, these neck muscles and your shoulder muscles are really, really sore. So to the extent that the bending and twisting could affect what happened as far as the procedure is concerned inside, try not to do too much of that, just in case, something, gets moved, which is not likely. But if you're doing a lot of twisting and bending of your neck, and you had some extensive work done, these muscles are not going to be happy anytime soon. So bending, twisting is probably not such a good idea to give these muscles a chance to kind of like calm down a bit. So that's what I understand from some of the BLTs. So question your doc, question the PT person, question the nurses, and find out what their take is on the BLT specificity. Why is there some specific information about the lifting part, but you're not telling me, well, when you say bending, twisting, is it my back? Is it my neck? And why is it my neck? And what are the reasons? Just, be diplomatic about it, but ask, right? By the way, this video is going to go much longer than any of my other videos, so I've just decided to just go for it. All right, so let me move along. The other thing is my range of motion. My doc told me before surgery that I probably would lose at least 25% range of motion, and that's right on target. I feel like I've lost a little bit more, but this is still early in the recovery process. So I've got, if I don't move my shoulders, I've got that to the side, and I've got that to the side. Now, part of it is that, range of motion is a function of two things, or limited range of motion is a function of two things. One has to do with pain. Like if you're turning this way and you're feeling pain, well, okay, well, that's going to limit your range of motion. Some physical therapy can maybe answer that. Some medication, some injections. If that really becomes limiting because of your work or whatever you do. And then the other thing is just the hardware. You're only going to be able to go so far, and you're not going to know what that is until you're actually fully healed, and these muscles have a chance to kind of like adapt to the new position. And then through PT and the things you do on your own, I can probably increase this range of motion a little bit. Where this really comes into play for me is when I'm driving. So, looking to the side, I find that I have to turn my body a little bit. Here in North Carolina, they have some right turns into oncoming traffic, which you can't even use your side mirror. That's how far you're turning into the traffic. So I have to literally turn my head to look a little bit. And so I'm getting used to that idea. Other than that, I just try to avoid those areas, but you can't always. The other thing too, it's about perspective in terms of this range of motion and loss of range of motion. I know a lot of people, oh my God, I'm going to lose range of motion. Now, if your job requires that you maintain as much range of motion as necessary to do your job, well, then that should be something that you definitely have conversations with your surgeon and your doc and your PT people. But for me and for a lot of us, what I was going through and what I was facing by not having this surgery done far outweighs any restriction in terms of my range of motion. So I'm keeping things in perspective, and I suggest that that's probably a good way to approach it. The other thing I wanted to talk about was shoulder pain. And when I look at the forums, a lot of people talk about right after the procedure, they end up being in a lot of pain, maybe even more pain they were before the surgery for a while. And that was true with me, and I didn't really talk about it all that much. In fact, I mentioned it to my surgeon, and I mentioned it to a couple of other people that was seeing me, that I had some pec issues here. It was like right in the front, and it would radiate under the collarbone, and the neck muscles were sore. And I actually, at one point, I thought, wow, maybe some of the work that was done is re-innervating some of the muscles, the nerves and the muscles, and maybe that's good pain. Now, I actually referred to it as good pain at one point in time. My right side diminished really quickly. That pain didn't last very long, but the left side was almost acute, an acute feeling. And so I thought, well, since that's what my main concern was the whole left side, maybe that's a good thing that I'm feeling some stuff that I hadn't been feeling before. And then the more I thought about it, it dawned on me that I had a conversation at the hospital with the unit physician because he was asking me, so how you feeling? I said, no, I just got a little tenderness here, and it's ready. He says, oh, he just said it's kind of tongue in cheek. He says, oh, that's probably from the taping and the positioning they had to do. Sometimes you can get a little discomfort there. It should go away. He said that just kind of naturally, nonchalant. I was like, oh, okay. I'd forgotten that he had said that. So I went on thinking that this was something that it wasn't. And then after the fact, I started doing more research about the actual procedure, what they actually do. By the way, I caution you not to look at that stuff until after you've had the procedure done, because if you look at it beforehand, it's likely to freak you out a little bit, scare you. And it's not bad, it's just that you don't need to know all of that stuff until it's already done. And then it's all about education. Before you have the procedure, you don't need to see anything negative. You don't need to look at surgery's gone wrong. You don't need to look at what they do to you and during the procedure. You don't need to look at any of that stuff until after. And the only reason after is just to become more educated about what the process entailed, so that you can be more knowledgeable. And this is a good example of that. Once I looked at some videos after I had the procedure, and I saw what they have to do in order to make sure your neck is properly exposed and that you are restrained properly, so that if something happens and you come to and you start struggling, or you start moving around, or your body starts moving around. Not that you become conscious. It's just that they're dealing with the human body, and so things can happen. They have you restrained pretty good, which makes a whole lot of sense. But one of the things they do is they put a weight on you. They put weights on you. I thought I remember reading 15 pounds is what they could end up putting, and that's pulling down. That's pulling you down. And so the unit doctor had mentioned that to me, but I'd forgotten. And so that's what I think that's what I was feeling, because my surgeon hadn't mentioned to me what this pain was. It did go away about 3.5 weeks. It was gone. When I say it was gone, I can still feel it. I can still provoke it if I touch it too much, but sitting in a car is not uncomfortable, and sitting in a car prior to it going away, accelerating, my wife would drive and she'd accelerate, I could feel it, all in here. So I had to prop my arm up on a pillow. Sleeping was a little bit more difficult because of it. But so for those of you who have already had the procedure, you might want to look up patient positioning. That's basically what I think caused it. Check with your doc, because maybe in your situation it's different. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about was managing the pain going forward. So you've already had the procedure. They give you tons of medication, including narcotics, and you have to be careful with all that stuff. Mostly, I think they tell you to take Tylenol and to stay away from the NSAIDs like Advil, Motrin, all that kind of stuff, which is probably good. Well, with the Tylenol, a couple of key things to keep in mind is you never want to exceed the maximum limit of that stuff, because even if you take too much, even with Tylenol, you can overdo it. So I think it's around 3,000 milligrams a day. So usually they prescribe for pain management, 3 times a day up to 975 milligrams, right? So that would come around just under 3,000 milligrams for a day, 27 some odd thousand milligrams. But what I ended up doing, this is me. I'm not a medical doctor, so I'm not giving you advice. I'm just telling you what I ended up doing. I looked at the pain for me based on 3 things. One, every day. So how am I feeling every day, and do I need anything for every day? And then I look at busy days, and then I look at active days, right? Active days. So every day for me, I don't typically need the pain meds, If I think I'm going to be doing something that might require me to have something, then what I do is I take an extended pain release, Tylenol. These are usually good for about 8 hours. I think it's around 650 milligrams or something like that. So I'll take one of those, at breakfast or sometime mid-morning or even at lunchtime, and then I'll go about my day and I basically forget about it. So that's for every day. So I don't do that every day, but if I think I might need something, I'll do one of those, because I have a little arthritis, as you would imagine. You get older, you start getting that. There are days when I wish I had taken something and I forgot. And then I'll just kind of suck it up and I won't even take anything because I got through the day, but a little bit stiff, but it didn't warrant now taking a pain, any Tylenol or anything like that. So that's what I'll do for the everyday category. I don't do it every day, but for just everyday generalized stuff, I might do it. And then I have what I call my busy days. If I'm going to be busy, I might still take one in the morning, depending on how busy I'm going to get later in the day. But normally what I'll do is, if it's a busy day, I'll just do the normal pain med thing, the 975 3 times a day if I need to do that. And that usually gives you good background pain management stuff, right? So that's just me, folks. Do whatever makes sense to you. But I do find that it's good to stay on top of the pain, especially while you're in the healing process. And I'm talking about all this because I'm still in the healing process. My neck muscles are still not normal yet. They're still, I can do dance moves, I can do that stuff, and I'm not going to hurt myself. I think I could even stumble and fall, and I probably would be okay. So The other thing I wanted to talk to you about has to do with, I mentioned that most of my issues were on the left side, but I was a little bit concerned because I was noticing some symptoms on the right side. Those have pretty much disappeared, but then all of a sudden I started getting a little bit of the symptoms back, and I realized it was because I was sleeping on my right. And so the right side is still trying to make sense out of what all had happened. And so by sleeping on the right, I think what I was doing is I was compressing the muscles and they were reacting, and then that was sending residual sensations down my arm. But once I stopped sleeping on my right side, that basically went back to the way it was right after surgery. So everybody's going to have to experiment to find out what it is that we need to do to kind of keep ourselves, on that straight and narrow path there. I still do have to wear the bone stimulator. That was the other thing that the bone stimulator, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about here, the bone stimulator is a device that often they'll prescribe to you after ACDF surgery or cervical lower level lumbar surgery. And basically what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to accelerate bone growth, basically accelerate what's happening in the body naturally quicker. So you can look that up. I won't get into to all the details about it, but basically there are these osteoblasts and osteografts that happen naturally with your bones, and these are little electrical things that start firing off that want to make your body whole. That's why they put the cage in, and as that process happens, those osteoblasts and osteografts, I think I'm saying it right. Do their work, and the electrical impulses from the bone growth stimulator is supposed to accelerate that process. So the jury is still out whether or not it really helps everybody. Some people, even if you didn't wear the bone growth stimulator, you probably would fuse anyway without it. It just is supposed to help. So anyways, I still have to wear it 4 hours a day. My doctor said for 6 months, so I'll go ahead and do that. The other things on the one of the forums, people were asking about, how do you know when you've actually fused? I mean, how do you know that you've fused? Well, when they look at your X-rays, usually at your second appointment, they can actually see the cage and they can see the discectomy. And my doctor actually pointed it out to me. He said, "Okay, see this area here? Okay, that's all black. There's no new bone growth in there. You see over here, it looks a little white in there, and here, that's bone growth." And I said, okay. I didn't know how you would even know. So once this is all fused, you won't see any dark areas here at all. That's complete confusion. That'll take, some people get fused completely like as soon as 6 months, and others it could take as long as a year. So. The other thing I wanted to mention, and someone did point this out to me, I mentioned in one of my videos that it's good idea to make sure that you have a person that you're very clear about who you want to have called should the surgeon or the team need to contact you during the process. And I had mentioned the term advanced directives. And advanced directives is a document that you would have as part of your will should there be an emergency and you need to be resuscitated, and the prospect of your life being what it was not good. So advanced directives deal with all of that. Really all you need is to just make sure you're clear about who is the person designated as your contact person should the doctor need to do more or less. In my case, my wife was aside from the advanced directives, my wife was the designated contact person. And my surgeon did need to contact her because instead of doing 3 levels, he ended up needing to do 4 levels. And so he had to contact her about that. So, and he had to contact her one more time for a different reason. So just wanted to clear that up. Talked about driving. So I am back at the gym, so that feels good. I'm doing light stuff. I got clearance to go back and do the arm rowing machine and treadmill and some other things. I was given an order after 6 weeks to start physical therapy, and I do have my first physical therapy scheduled for next week. And a little tip from you, from me. I decided, who's in charge here anyway? You know what I mean? And the answer is, I'm the patient. I'm in charge. All right. I don't mean I'm in charge of the surgery. I don't mean I'm in charge of anything that the professionals need to do. But I'm in charge of how I feel about what's going to happen to me. So I went back to the same physical therapy group that I had gone to before the surgery because I really thought they did a great job, or they're really professional. And the doctor there that I had used was no longer there. I mean, he's still part of the group, but he's working in a different office. So I was going to be meeting with somebody else, and I sat down with him and I said, listen, I want to have a heart-to-heart with you as a consultation before I begin this. Said, no offense, I'm just going to be straight up about it. I don't want experimentation. I want to know that who I'm going to be working with has dealt with patients who have the same or similar types of situations that I'm dealing with right now. I want to know that you work with someone who has what I'm dealing with on my left side. Cervical radiculopathy is my diagnosis. I said, I don't want this to be a learning process for you. He said, no, I appreciate you saying that. He said, because I think if you don't say that, then yeah, at certain facilities, then they assign you to a technician who may be just dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and they're not working with you, the patient. And you being the patient, you're in charge. You need to tell us what you want and what you think should happen. So I was comfortable that this the new doctor of physical therapy, DPT, he knew exactly what I was talking about. He had patients that he had dealt with who had a lot worse than what I'm dealing with. He said some things that let me know that he was understanding what I was thinking about. And I have to tell you, in order to take charge, sometimes it's emotional. It was for me because, I said to him, I said, look, I'm getting emotional right now. I said, because I'm not doing this again. This is it. I've already had 2 surgeries on the neck area. Unless the surgeon says, you have no choice, you have to have another one, I'm not doing another elective one. So I'm even getting emotional now about it. So, but anyways, I think you get the point. Take charge. You're in charge. So speak up. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about was semantics, right? Have you had somebody ask you about, what happened? No, especially if you're wearing a collar, and then you go into full ACDF geek. Right? Oh, it was an ACDF. Yeah, that's anterior cervical discectomy with fusion. And I had 4 levels done because the vertebral bodies were, the osteophytes and the blah, blah, blah. And oh my goodness, we get our geek on, don't we? And there's nothing wrong with it. It's kind of fun in a sense. But I mean, think about it, like when you're talking to the average person, just lighten up a little bit. The average person who it's just a casual conversation, just said, oh, geez, I had a pinched nerve, and I had to have a surgical procedure to take care of it. I'm doing fine. And most people go like, oh yeah, my cousin had a pinched nerve and he's doing great. And then you move on. You don't need to dive into the geek world of ACDF stuff, right? Save that conversation for people that need to know, right? Somebody's trying to get you to do something that you don't want to do. Oh my goodness, I had spinal surgery. It was ACDF and it was 4 levels and now I got a plate and 10 screws. Oh my goodness, and the neck muscles and or save it for when you're talking to people like me. We want to hear about all of this stuff, so. Last thing I want to say, I'm almost done. This was like over 30 minutes. So 2 more things. One is, to the extent that you feel comfortable, journal your experience. I know I mentioned this in one of my other videos, but journal your experience. And for me, journaling means I keep a journal on my phone. I just write in notes, things that are going on, right? Sometimes they're in an order, and sometimes it's just things that pop into my head. They even have apps that will allow you to organize your journal if you want to do that. So maybe your journal is you just participate in the forums, just knowing that you're just talking to someone about the process, somebody that understands what you're going through. So do that. Maybe you just write it down in a booklet or a book or a piece of paper or however, maybe you're doing YouTube videos like what I'm doing right now. I wish I had journaled more when I had the first one done in 2016. I did do research, so I was smarter coming out of it than I was going into it in 2016. But had I done back then what I've been doing now, I would have been much smarter over those 6 years, and I probably would have gotten the procedure done a lot sooner and have to do a lot less work now. But hey, no time like the present, right? And then the very last thing that I want to talk to you guys about is keep your sense of humor to the extent that you can. If you're in pain, it's hard sometimes to keep the positive perspective and the sense of humor. But if you do have a sense of humor, otherwise, keep that, right? Laugh where you can laugh, You got some things that you can talk about the scar. Go ahead, talk about it. You should have seen the other guy is one of them, right? Hey, how'd you get that scar? Oh my God, the guy wanted my snow shovel. You're not going to believe it. You got a few minutes? I'll tell you about it. Have some humor about it. Talk about ACDF. Yeah, I had ACDF surgery. And listen, let me tell you, I'm glad I had the ACDF because it was better than the XYZ they were proposing. I'll tell you that much. You see, anyway, you get the idea. I actually, my wife, she yells at me because before the surgery, I went on Amazon and I bought some funny saying T-shirts and I forgot about them. One actually said, I have neither the time nor the crayons to explain to you what happened. That wasn't I should have worn it. I'm still going to wear it. I swear I'm going to wear that. And then there was another one I got which said, I was left unsupervised. That's great. So I will be wearing them, and I would have worn one today, but you can't reverse the letters. You wouldn't have been able to read it. So. Oh man, that was a marathon one. That was like 30 plus minutes. So I hope this was helpful to you. And if you have any questions, just go ahead and leave them in the comments. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a surgeon. I'm just someone who has gone through a similar experience as you. And to the extent that I can help you out a little bit, maybe relieve some of the anxiety that you might be having, I'm here to help as best I can, as well as all the other people who have gone through this. And for those of you who are over on the Facebook groups, I really appreciate that you all, there's no nonsense over there. Everybody understands what we're all going through. So it's one big family over there. So if you're watching this and you haven't joined Facebook, just to be able to go to that group, create an anonymous account and go ahead and join the cervical group over there. It's a great group of people over there, and you'll get the support you need, and a lot of your answers can get answered over there. All right. So I'm probably not going to make another video for a while unless there are lots of questions that come up as it relates to some of these videos. I know some questions may come up around, hey, what are some videos that you watched after the fact? I hesitate to post those because I know there will be curious people who are thinking about getting the surgery. We'll go ahead and watch those, and then they'll get discouraged because they'll become afraid because they're envisioning what happened, right? Now that I've had the surgery and I've seen what they do, I still would have the surgery because I understand it now, and that's the power of knowledge. But if you don't know what's going on, and this is one of the first videos that you are seeing, I'm telling you, only look for the positive videos. Look for positive recovery videos. Look for some of the videos that are put out by the organizations that are pre-prep or pre-surgery videos. There are many of those out there. And look for ones that will give you information about how to prepare and how to be ready for your recovery. Stay away from all that negative stuff. And again, for those people who are suffering This is not a slight against you, because your pain is your pain, and you know, you need a forum, and you need to be able to sound off about it. So this is not a slight to you in any way. I'm just saying, for those people who don't know what they're getting ready to do, they should probably just stick with the stuff that's going to help you prepare mentally in a positive direction. So I probably didn't say all of that just the way it should be. Anyways, that's it. I'm Lee, and stay safe, and I'll see you on the forums, or maybe I'll see you in a video in the not too distant future. All right. Have a good one. Stay safe. And keep that ACD geek stuff in check, okay?